The day my sister, Eva, called to tell me she was getting married, I genuinely felt like my heart would burst with joy. "Reina, he proposed," she squealed over the phone, her voice vibrating with happiness. "And despite everything, our differences, our disagreements over the years, I meant it when I said, I'm so happy for you, Eva. Truly." I remember looking over at my daughter, Lily, who was sitting at the kitchen island, dunking a cookie into her tea while doing homework. "Aunt Eva's getting married," I told her with a grin. Her eyes lit up immediately. "Do I get to be a bridesmaid?" she asked, nearly dropping her cookie in excitement. I laughed. "Maybe. We'll find out." Lily was 16. Sweet, intelligent, kind to her bones. She had that quiet confidence some kids only dream of having at her age. And she adored Eva. In her mind, Eva wasn't just her aunt. She was like a glamorous older sister. They had movie nights, late-night phone calls, even matching bracelets. So, in Lily's heart, being a part of Eva's wedding wasn't just a wish. It felt like something certain. A few days later, Eva invited me over for lunch to talk about the wedding plans. I showed up with a little bottle of champagne and a heart full of excitement. We laughed, we planned. She showed me her Pinterest board and swatches of pastel-colored bridesmaid dresses. "Everything's going to be perfect," she said, her eyes dreamy. Then she cleared her throat. "There's just one thing, Reina. I wanted to talk to you before the invites go out." "Sure," I said, sipping my tea. "I've decided I'm going to keep the guest list pretty adult. You know, grown-up vibes, cocktails, music, that kind of thing. So, I hope you're okay with Lily not being invited." I blinked. "Wait, you're not inviting Lily?" "It's nothing personal," she said quickly, her smile tightening. "I just think 16 is a little too young for the kind of wedding I'm envisioning." I felt my jaw clench. "But she's family. She loves you." She was so excited. "Reina," she interrupted, placing her hand over mine in a patronizing way. "I need you to respect this decision. It's my day." My stomach dropped. I couldn't find words for a moment. All I could picture was Lily's face, how her eyes would fall when I told her, how she'd try to pretend it didn't bother her. I looked Eva straight in the eyes and said calmly, "If my daughter isn't welcome, then we won't be coming." She blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, well, that's your choice." I stood up, setting my tea down. "It is." And just like that, I walked out, heart pounding, mind racing, not with rage, but with a quiet, deep ache I couldn't explain yet. But I would eventually. And so would the rest of the family. I tried to keep my composure when I got home. I didn't want Lily to see the sadness on my face the moment I walked through the door. But she could always read me like a book. "Mom, is everything okay?" she asked, setting down her headphones. I sat beside her on the couch and gently took her hand. "Sweetheart, Aunt Eva doesn't want anyone under 18 at the wedding. She said it's going to be an adult-only event." She stared at me for a moment. "Oh," she said softly. "Okay, that's fine." She smiled, but it was forced. I saw the way her fingers curled into her hoodie sleeves. I knew my daughter. That wasn't fine. That was heartbreak disguised as indifference. "You're not upset?" I asked. She shrugged. It's her wedding. She can do what she wants. But later that night, when I walked past her room, I heard her voice low and cracked as she FaceTimed her best friend. She didn't even say it to me, you know? My own aunt. There was silence, then a broken laugh. "I thought I'd be in her pictures. I was even going to buy those silver heels we saw." I closed the door quietly and sat in the hallway, heart aching. This wasn't just about a wedding. It was about a 16-year-old girl realizing that love isn't always returned the way you give it. That sometimes the people you put on pedestals don't look back at you the same way. The next day, I called my mom to talk about it. "I'm just really hurt," I said. "Lily's crushed. I don't understand how Eva could think this was okay." My mother sighed. "Reina, it's her big day. Don't make a scene over this." "I'm not making a scene," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just think." "She's trying to have a sophisticated, grown-up wedding," she interrupted. "You should support her, not make her feel guilty." Support her? I was expected to clap from the sidelines while my daughter was tossed aside like she didn't matter? I tried my brother next. Same reaction. Come on, Raina. It's just one day. Lily will survive. But that was the problem. No one was thinking about how it felt to be the only family member excluded. Not because she misbehaved. Not because she couldn't make it. But because she didn't fit some arbitrary grown-up vibe. I wasn't asking for much. Just a little compassion. But instead, I became the difficult one. The one who was overreacting and making it about herself. I even got a text from one of my aunts. You always have to stir the pot. Can't you let Eva enjoy her moment? Meanwhile, Lily became quiet. She stayed off social media. Stopped FaceTiming Eva. She didn't say much, but her energy had shifted. She began to shrink into herself like a flower wilting away from the sun. That's when I knew this wasn't just about a party. It was a message, intentional or not, that my daughter wasn't enough. Not cool enough. Not grown enough. Not valued. And that was something I couldn't ignore. They may have turned a blind eye, but I was wide awake. The wedding day came like a storm we saw brewing from miles away, but still weren't prepared for. Lily and I stayed home. Just the two of us, curled up on the couch with a bowl of popcorn and a movie neither of us paid attention to. Outside, it was just another sunny Saturday. But inside our little house, there was a weight in the air, like something sacred had been broken. The silence between us said more than words ever could. Then the notification started. My phone buzzed every few minutes with tagged photos, family group chats, and endless updates. Eva in her sparkling white dress, my mom in a seafoam green gown, my brother with his arms around his wife. Hashtag Evie ever after. Hashtag family forever. The irony hit me like a punch. Do you want to see them? I asked Lily gently. She didn't answer, just shook her head and tucked her knees tighter to her chest. She'd barely touched her popcorn. I glanced at the screen again. Photo after photo of my family laughing, toasting, dancing under fairy lights. A whole universe that Lily and I had been quietly cut out of. One photo made me stop cold. It was of all the nieces and nephews gathered together, holding sparklers with the caption, "The next generation!" All except Lily. She had literally been erased. That night, Lily didn't say much. She just went to her room early, claiming she had a headache. I waited a few minutes, then walked up quietly to check on her. Her door was open just enough for me to see her curled under the blanket, headphones in, her phone screen glowing as tears rolled down her cheeks. I backed away, heartbreaking, and sat on the stairs, clenching my fists. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a message. A reminder that you can love people with your whole heart and they'll still decide you don't fit their picture. The next day, I noticed her starting to pull away. Not dramatically, just subtle things. She stopped calling her cousins, ignored texts, deleted her Instagram. I saw the light in her dim, just a little more each day. I wanted to scream. At Eva. At my mother. At the whole damn family. Instead, I sat with Lily, trying to find ways to bring her back to herself. You know this doesn't mean anything about your worth, right? I told her one night, holding her hand across the kitchen table. Their choice says everything about them, not you. She nodded, but her eyes didn't quite believe me. And I realized something in that moment. This wasn't about a party or an invitation. It was about what people choose to prioritize. It was about a girl who had done nothing wrong being made to feel invisible by people who were supposed to love her unconditionally. It was about how casually we discard others when they don't fit the narrative we're building for ourselves. And maybe they thought it would all blow over, that we'd forget, forgive, and pretend none of it mattered. That Lily would bounce back and I'd sweep the pain under the rug. But they didn't know me. And they definitely didn't know my daughter. Because while they were busy staging perfect photos for likes and comments, something inside me was shifting. Quietly, firmly. I wasn't planning a fight. I was planning something better. I didn't send a dramatic text or post some cryptic quote online. I didn't confront Eva or demand an apology. I simply stepped back. It started with brunch, a weekly tradition with my mom and aunts, filled with passive-aggressive compliments and forced laughter. I canceled. No excuse, just won't make it today. Then another Sunday came and went. And another. Eventually the text slowed. Then stopped. I left the family group chat quietly, not in a blaze of drama, but like a door that closes gently and doesn't reopen. No one asked why. Or maybe they noticed and chose not to. I didn't care. The truth is I was tired. Tired of pretending the weight in my chest was something I could ignore. Tired of showing up to people who wouldn't show up for us. So I gave all my energy to someone who deserved it. Lily. I started planning little Saturday adventures. Just the two of us. Farmers markets, art museums, coffee shops with poetry readings. Places that made her eyes light up again. Sometimes we didn't even do anything special. We just lay under blankets, binge-watching mystery shows. And that felt more honest than any family gathering ever had. I didn't need to explain my silence to anyone. If they didn't feel the absence of Lily at the wedding, they weren't going to feel our absence now. And still, the texts came from time to time. You've been distant lately. Eva asked about you. You and Lily should come by. It wasn't personal, but it was personal. Maybe not to them, but definitely to my daughter. And that made it personal to me. I responded with polite but firm boundaries. No blame, no bitterness, just space. They'd made a choice. And now, so had I. What they didn't realize was that I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't hoping to be welcomed back. I was building a new reality where Lily and I weren't afterthoughts. I was reclaiming my peace. And in that silence, I found something powerful. Clarity. And maybe a little spark of something else. Something I'd been quietly planning. Something they never saw coming. Christmas was always Eva's thing. The big tree. The carefully curated matching pajamas. The themed dinner menus and choreographed photo ops. Every year, she transformed her house into a holiday movie set. And every year, the entire family dutifully showed up to play their parts. Except this year, I didn't. When Eva sent out the group message, Christmas dinner at ours. Same time, same sparkle. Can't wait to see everyone. I replied simply, thanks, but Lily and I already have plans. No drama. No explanation. Just a calm boundary. She didn't reply. Neither did anyone else. But I saw the read receipts, and that was enough. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning this Christmas since the night of her wedding. Not out of spite, but out of intention. I didn't want to spend another holiday being a prop in someone else's perfect picture. I wanted something real, something warm, something Lily would actually feel, not just pose for. So we stayed home and made our own magic. I let Lily plan the day however she wanted. We baked cookies from scratch, the kitchen turning into a beautiful mess of flour and laughter. We made hot cocoa with real whipped cream and cinnamon sticks. No rules, no schedules, no pretending. Then we curled up in our living room, where I'd strung up fairy lights and lit cinnamon-scented candles. The tree was small, but every ornament told a story, little pieces of us. Not matching, not perfect, but ours. Do you miss being there? I asked her softly as we sat beneath the lights, gifts still unopened under the tree. She shook her head, her eyes calm. Not even a little. And I believed her, but I still had one surprise left. While Lily played music and danced around in her socks, I brought out a box I've been keeping hidden in my closet for weeks. Inside was a simple hardcover scrapbook. I handed it to her, and she flipped it open with a puzzled smile. The first page was a picture of us from last Christmas, laughing with cookie dough on our noses. The next pages were filled with photos of our adventures over the past year. Quiet breakfasts, weekend art walks, silly selfies in mismatched pajamas. And on the final page, there was a note. You are not too young. You're not too small. You are not someone to be left out. You are everything. And no party, no photo, no event will ever define your worth. I see you. I love you. Always. She didn't cry. She just hugged me hard and whispered, "This is the best Christmas I've ever had." And that's when I knew we weren't missing out on anything. They were. Because while Eva was toasting with her crystal glasses and snapping another perfect photo, I was here in the glow of something real. And just when I thought the day couldn't get better, the text started rolling in. You're really not coming? You sure Lily doesn't want to open gifts with her cousins? Even Eva messaged, "It's not the same without you." I smiled at my phone and placed it face down on the table. Because this year, we didn't need to be anywhere we weren't wanted before. And next year? Well, they'd remember the silence. Because it wasn't absence. It was presence louder than any words. I hadn't planned on sharing any photos. Honestly, it wasn't about showing off or proving a point. But sometimes the most beautiful moments demand to be witnessed. Our little Christmas gathering had grown into something more than just a quiet day with Lily. I'd reached out to a few people, ones who, like us, had often been left out or overlooked by the louder voices in the family. My cousin Mina, whose kids never got much attention because they weren't picture perfect. Uncle Raj, who had long since stopped coming to family events after Eva started treating him like furniture. Even sweet Aunt Dolly, who always brought gifts but never got one in return. They all came, shy at first, unsure why they'd been invited. I smiled as I welcomed each of them at the door. Because you matter, and you deserve a Christmas where that's felt. We filled my small home with laughter, warmth, and dishes brought from each person's kitchen. Nothing matched. Nothing was coordinated. But everything was real. Lily was glowing, surrounded by other kids who weren't judged or silenced. They played board games on the living room floor, decorated cookies with messy joy, and sang songs that didn't need auto-tune or applause. At one point, Aunt Dolly leaned in and whispered, This is what it used to feel like long ago, before all the performance. I snapped a photo then, her smile, the crinkles around her eyes, the plate of cookies in her lap, and posted it on my private social media with a caption that simply read, A different kind of Christmas, the kind that feels like home. I didn't tag anyone, didn't mention Eva, didn't need to, but you know how families are. The pictures began to ripple through the grapevine. People started sharing them, commenting things like, wish we were there, and looks like you all had so much fun. I saw screenshots floating into the family group chat I'd left. Apparently the contrast was striking. Their matching pajamas and picture-perfect backdrop looked sterile next to our chaos-filled, heartwarming evening. Eva's photos had the polish. Mine had the soul. And slowly the silence broke. I got a text from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. You reminded me what holidays are supposed to be. Mind if we join next year? Another message from someone I barely knew but had seen at family weddings. I always felt like I didn't belong. Your post made me cry. Thank you for that. Even my own brother, who had been Eva's little shadow most of his life, messaged, Your dinner looked amazing. Eva was kind of tense all evening. I think she noticed. Oh, I was sure she did. Because for once, the spotlight wasn't on her carefully curated life. It was on the people she forgot. The ones she never thought were worthy of inclusion. And all I had done was open my door to them. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to shout or shame or confront. I just needed to create space for the people who had been quietly aching. And let the photos speak for themselves. It didn't take long for the storm to hit. 2 days after Christmas, Eva called me. Not texted, called. I stared at the screen as it rang, her name glowing like a warning sign. And against my better judgment, I picked up. Her voice was sharp, coated in sugar but laced with fury. So, what exactly was that little Christmas stunt about? I stayed calm. It wasn't a stunt. It was Christmas, with people who've been left out one too many times. You're dividing the family, Reina, she hissed. Do you know how many people were talking about you? Sharing your photos like you're some kind of saint. I didn't divide the family, Eva, I replied. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. That's when she lost it. You're bitter because Lily didn't get invited to the wedding. That's what this is really about. You're twisting everything and making me look like a villain. I didn't yell. I didn't defend. I don't need to make you look like anything, Eva. People see what they see. Maybe it's time you asked why. She hung up, but the silence didn't follow, because once that phone call ended, the real unraveling began. Apparently, Eva hadn't realized how many people in the family had been simmering with unspoken resentment. My dinner had been the spark, but the fire had been smoldering for years. Group chats exploded. My cousin Neha finally said it out loud. Remember when Eva made fun of my son's stutter during that reunion? And everyone laughed? He cried the whole way home. Aunt Dolly added, I haven't had a Christmas gift with my name on it in 15 years. Even my brother, the golden boy of the family, confessed she uninvited my wife from the baby shower because her style didn't fit the vibe. I never said anything, but it always hurt. More messages poured in. People remembering times they'd been overlooked, excluded, made to feel small, all for not fitting Eva's image of perfection. And suddenly, the family's golden girl wasn't so golden anymore. Eva tried to salvage it, of course. She posted a long, syrupy caption on Instagram with a slideshow of her Christmas dinner. Family is everything. Grateful for another perfect holiday surrounded by love. But the comments told a different story. I guess not all the family was there, huh? Real love doesn't exclude. Wish I'd been at Raina's house instead. Her mask was cracking, and for once, no amount of forced smiles or pastel filters could hold it together. She tried messaging relatives privately, spinning her version of events. But too many people had seen the truth now. And once people feel seen, they don't go back to being invisible. One by one, the facade collapsed. My parents, who had always blindly backed Eva, called me that evening. At first, they tried to guilt me. You didn't even show up. You could have caused a real scene if you had. But I could hear the unease in their voices. I wasn't the problem anymore. The problem was how long they'd ignored the actual one. And now the entire family knew it. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just said, maybe this Christmas was exactly what needed to happen. They didn't know how to respond, because the truth was finally louder than their excuses. And the woman they once dismissed for being too sensitive, she'd quietly pulled the thread, and the whole tapestry of pretense had come undone. I stood at the kitchen sink days after New Year's, rinsing the last of the dessert trays from our Christmas dinner. Outside the window, Lily and two of the younger cousins were building a lopsided snowman, laughing so hard they could barely pack the snow straight. That sound, that laughter, was everything. No filter, no spotlight, no performance, just joy. I didn't throw a fit when Eva banned my daughter from her wedding. I didn't start a war or beg to be included. I didn't try to argue with people who'd already decided who mattered and who didn't. I just chose a different path. I protected Lily, even when the world told me I was overreacting. I gave her space to hurt, and then I gave her space to heal. I reminded her that her worth isn't determined by an invitation or a seat at someone else's table. Instead, we built our own table. And when I quietly opened that door to the overlooked and the forgotten, when I welcomed them with no expectations, no obligations, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. This wasn't about revenge. It never really was. It was about clarity. Because when people show you who they are, when they make it clear you're only valuable if you fit their mold, you don't have to fight them. You just stop playing along. Let them keep their cold elegance and curated perfection. Let them sit in rooms where only certain people are allowed in. I'll take messy joy over manufactured beauty any day. And as for Eva, I didn't need an apology from her. The truth had found its way out, louder than I ever could have shouted it. And honestly, the silence that followed said more than any apology ever could. That Christmas didn't just change the family. It changed me. I'm no longer the woman who waits for others to include me. I'm the woman who makes her own circle and fills it with light. As I dried my hands and looked back out at Lily, she caught me watching and waved, her cheeks pink with cold, eyes full of life again. That wave, that smile, that was my closure. That was my quiet victory. And it was enough.